Hey everyone, Thorn and Smash here, resident Apex Predator, and today I'm going to give you a guide on how you can win more games on Olympus and quite easily. Now, there's a lot of different strategies and not everyone is utilizing them to get the most wins possible, so we're going to cover that in this video, and hopefully these tips lead you to becoming the champion squad more often than you're used to seeing. The first thing up is about where you're going to want to be dropping on the map to give you the best chance of winning the games. Now, on the left-hand side, you're going to go ahead and see a map of Olympus along with each individual location marked on the map. Now, if you're an intermediate to beginner level player and you're not that comfortable getting into a firefight right at the beginning of the game, you're going to want to avoid the center parts of the map. I'm talking Turbine, Energy Depot, Hammond Labs, Estates, and Power Grid. Those all tend to be very, very hot drops, and you're going to get into a ton of fights if you land there. Some good mellow drops where you don't see a lot of action are going to be on the outside of the map, such as Orbital Cannon, Grow Towers, Gardens, Docks, Carrier, and Hydroponics. Now, I do want to say that even though Bonsai Plaza and Oasis are on the corners of the map, they still tend to be very hot drops. So if you go to there, you are going to get into more engagements, but you do have the chance to get better loot. The best spot, in my opinion, to drop is actually going to be the Rift, and there's a couple reasons. One, it's a pretty large location, so even if another team comes with you there, you still have plenty of space to maneuver and get the loadout that you want. Now, say that you're having a hard time in that firefight and it's really not working out and you're worried about a third party. There is the Phase Runner Rift right in the center, which allows for a quick escape for you to get out of there and reposition to engage at a later time. So once again, to reiterate, if you're a beginner to intermediate player, avoid the center of the map, avoid Bonsai and Oasis, and you can go ahead and go to those other locations I mentioned, but overall the best spot you're going to want to go to is going to be the Rift. Now, after you've landed and you're on the ground, the next big thing, and this is going to really apply to any map, it's going to be rotations. And rotations are absolutely key to winning a game. You cannot simply land and just start heading towards the circle. If you don't have a good idea of where you're going to want to go and move on the map, another team will come and find you first. They will take you out, or you're going to be subject to third parties where you are also going to be obliterated. So let's cover rotations a little bit. So unlike prior maps like World's Edge and Kings Canyon, Olympus actually features something that is incredibly useful for that idea of rotating, and it's basically going to be the Rift or the Phase Runner. Now, we already covered Rift as a landing spot, but there's also these Phase Runners set up in 3 different sections of the map, and it can take you to the center of the map or even further if you wish, which can be a ton of help. I found this incredibly useful because if the circle was ever across the map from where my team landed, the Phase Runner was a quick option to relocate. But you do want to be wary when using this, because as you go through, it will notify players on the other side of the Rift, if there are any, that you are coming. So when you shoot out, you're going to be invulnerable for a few seconds, just like Wraith when she does her phase ability. When that happens, you want to run directly to the other Phase Runner to go through again. Now, when you pop out, you're going to go ahead and look around and see if you see any enemies. If you do see enemies, once again, jump right back into the next phase so that you can get across the map once again and escape that enemy team. If you go ahead and pop out and you just try to see around and see if there's a firefight to be happening, the other team will get the drop on you and take you out. So be prepared to go use the other Phase Runner right away, and if not, go ahead and you can begin to loot up and do your rotations based off of there. The other thing that Olympus has that World's Edge and Kings Canyon doesn't have is it's home of the first ever vehicle in Apex Legends, and that's going to be the Trident. The Trident is a very specialized tool. You can put up to 3 people, so basically a full team on it, and you can fire from it, but it does not come with built-in weapons, so that will leave you a little bit vulnerable. Not to mention that if you get shot on it, the whole team takes damage, not the individual person who shot, and they really only have to aim at the vehicle. They don't even need to hit you. Meaning that if someone is hitting you with a Kraber, your whole team can take massive amounts of damage, so it's not always the best idea to run with this vehicle. I almost never recommend anyone to hop in this vehicle to help get you to your next rotation. It makes a ton of noise, you're highly visible, and people will find you and be aware that you're coming. So it really ruins all your sneak attacks. It really doesn't do anything to help you other than get you there a little bit faster, but because the ring does not do as much damage as it has done in prior seasons, it's not a priority for you to do your rotations as fast as possible in a vehicle. Now, you may be wondering, why even have the vehicle in the game if it doesn't really have a purpose? It does. If your teammate gets knocked and they're down and they get eliminated and you need to grab that banner, it can be a very useful tool. You basically want to grab the banner, hop in the Trident, and then boost away to get away from that enemy team, giving you the ability to bring back in your teammate. That is when it is absolutely the most critical and when it is the most helpful in the game. Once again, I want to reiterate, do not use this to simply move rotations or get into a firefight. It's a dead giveaway you're coming, and it will get your team killed. Now, this next tip can be applied on all maps, but there's a little bit more you can do with it on Olympus due to the way that it's built, and that's basically that high ground is king. And for Olympus, that is no exception. It's even more important here because now we have seen more layers and features on locations than seen before. For example, we have buildings with multiple floors and underground tunnels for angles and flanks. An example of that is actually going to be grow towers, which I've mentioned previously on this game, and it's actually got 3 different layers. And if you go ahead and get yourself on the highest floor of the tower in the final circle, you can pick off teams attempting to run in from the storm, and you'll win the game from the high ground. I've done this 1,000 times. Hold the high ground, be patient, and pick people off as they're trying to get in from the storm. Not only will they take storm damage, weakening their health, but once you pop their shields, they basically become 1 or 2 shots to take down. Now, there are general guidelines and tips that will really help you on any map, so it would be a disservice not to go over them, even though they can be used on any map and not just Olympus. And the first one of those, and this is the most key and critical, is communication with your team. Now, I know not everyone has teammates to join in the game, but even if you don't, the pinging system was a very unique feature added to Apex Legends and absolutely is critical to be utilized. You need to let your teammates know when there's an enemy in the location. You need to ping loot that might help them with attachments to make them have the most powerful loadout to help you guys win in an engaged firefight. This next one I don't see people do enough, and that's putting your gun away when you are running, but also being smart enough to have the gun that when you pull out is going to be the most useful for that situation. And what I mean by that is if you are just straight running with no gun out and you're doing the normal fast as you can sprint, if you're in a building complex, have an R99 or an SMG ready. That way if someone pops around a corner, you have a gun ready for quick engagements, not a sniper rifle, which isn't going to help you at all. And if you're running out open in the plains, make sure you do have a sniper rifle and not an R99 so that you can get that enemy team to back off. Make sure that when you put your gun away and you're running as fast as you can, that you have the proper loadout for when you come out of that sprint function. One of the biggest differences between pro players and regular players is knowing when to disengage a fight and also knowing when to pick up and revive your teammates. Not every time your teammate gets knocked do they need to be revived. There are going to be cases where you know that you aren't going to win this firefight, so backing off and deciding to disengage and not finish is totally fine. That doesn't make you a bad player or anything. The other team may have had high ground or another advantage, and knowing when to back off of that is absolutely key, and going ahead and grabbing their banner later with the Trident, like we mentioned, can really help you salvage the game and get a win. Those are going to be my tips today on how to win on Olympus. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe. I come out with Apex content on the daily, and it really helps my channel grow a lot. Let me know any tips in the comments below on how you like to win on Olympus. I really love engaging with the community, and it lets me know what I can do also to help my gameplay. Until next time, Legends, keep slaying in the Outlands, and I'll see you out there.